All right, everyone, welcome back. Another episode Applesauce Melody. I'm Thor. This is Eric. Uh, we missed a week, but we have two episodes of She-Hulk, two episodes of Andor, season finale of She-Hulk. Let's dig into these things.
Dude, let's smash it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's
Ribbit,
smash it.
ribbit,
Like
and rip it. Yeah,
rip it and rip it. Let's smash this thing. Um, I love this show. We're gonna be, I think, in the minority of people praising it. It's not what you expected. It definitely hit me. In the whoa, I did not. I mean, it broke my brain. Um,
yeah.
I I was wondering if I was not dreaming it because I got up really early to watch it this morning.
Like I find myself every week, just like with the other ones, I'm anticipating this show. I enjoyed watching Andor on Wednesday, but like I could not wait to watch this show. Especially with the fact that they teased us and gave us a ninth episode that we weren't expecting. Eighth episode we got Daredevil, we got all the things that the teaser showed us that we were going to be getting, and then at the end of it, they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, there's more. Um,
Yeah, is next week the finale? I mean, in this finale, like I said, I love this show. I still don't exactly know how I feel about this ending. It raises a lot of questions for me, canon wise, but I really love how they handled it. This show was under, just like its female characters, it's under a lot of pressure to be all things,
yeah.
and trying to be its own thing and be different. And this episode, it came out plain and bold and literally just smashed its way out of its own universe. Total, the most meta thing I've ever seen.
Oh
um
yeah.
and I think, it's something to be taken. A lot of people are like, it's not taking itself seriously. Is it being bad on purpose? Like it's basically, and She-Hulk has done this in the comic book, so they're not ripping off Deadpool. In fact, maybe She-Hulk broke the fourth wall before Deadpool. I'm not sure on that, but it's a comic book convention. Deadpool might be the most famous, but if he, my criticism of anybody who has a big problem with this is, if you loved Deadpool, really ask yourself why you didn't like this. Because if Deadpool had busted his way out and crawled
Yeah.
all over the MCU, screen on Disney Plus, we would have loved it,
Yeah.
and I did love it.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and it's honestly something that I think the show hits the nail on the head. It's very much a, you let your male heroes do this, why don't you let your female heroes do this? And the show was built to be something different. It was
Right.
built to show us a different side of the MCU. They talk about it in this finale, that there's this structure that everyone's like, oh well, I don't like Marvel movies because Marvel movies are so formulaic. And this one, it comes out and it says,
Yeah,
she
this show
she
really
calls
is.
Kevin out on it,
Yeah,
which is
this show
brilliant.
really is for my brother. For my brother and people who don't think that they like the MCU, this could be a great gateway into it, where you don't really have to know anything about it and could just look at this as like a meta commentary on superheroes, much
Yeah,
like the Supers was. Like, there's been a lot of great comic, like, satire of comic book heroes in recent years, like the Boys, stuff
yeah.
like that. Like this is opening the door. She-Hulk is smashing open the door to do this, and she's smashing the patriarchy, and she's dealing with women. And so, also, if you don't like this, it's not made for you. This,
Yeah.
like, there's lots of other, and that's, I trust me. There was a moment where my brain was like, no, I want to see this fight with Abomination. I knew he was bad, and I want to see. I knew he was going to turn bad, but he wasn't really. He was just
Yeah.
doing a speaking engagement,
Yeah.
and
So I wanted to talk about that, and
yeah,
sorry to cut you off, but like, so this show, like, in this season finale where they talk about, how they have to interject all these things into it, and the show did that. It basically took the B plot that they were showing us underneath all of She-Hulk, and at the end they're like, no, this B plot was useless. This wasn't important to the story. The story is She-Hulk,
right,
not the Hulk, not the Abomination. It's not Wong. It's not Titania. It's not Daredevil.
yep.
It's the slice of life legal comedy, and I thought it was brilliant to call that out. Um,
Because that's not what it is. That's exactly it. There was a moment where I'm like, no, I want to see her beat dude bro Hulk's
yeah,
ass, and I want to
yeah,
see Hulk and Abomination fight. And but that's what I expected. And like we've talked about many times on this, like you got to really enjoy this stuff and let it grow and let it become not trope and trite. Is to be okay with getting what you
Yeah.
didn't expect, because sometimes you get what you need. It's like the old Rolling Stone song. Like, so you don't always get what you want, but sometimes, and I needed this. I mean, this is
Yeah.
such a great palate cleanser before we get all hard and heavy into the Kang Dynasty and Quantum Mania. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to allow this kind of show, and bringing Deadpool in is going to allow um, the MCU to still do dramatic stuff, but still have those lighthearted asides, which, love it or hate it, and it's okay if it's not your bag, baby, but like that's a part of comic books. The boxed, what they're thinking, the quip, the Peter Parker quips, the Logan quips, that is part and parcel
Yeah.
Marvel Comics, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something that we haven't gotten in a Spider-Man movie yet, because to your point, Spider-Man is a lot in his head. It's very much like when you try to adapt, a Stephen King book. Most of Spider-Man comics happen in an internal monologue. Deadpool talks to himself most of the time, and I
And
think it's
they figured
brilliant the
out
way they handled
interesting
it.
ways to do that in the Tom Holland Spider-Man. I'll give them that, with his little video diary that he
Yeah.
does,
Yeah.
and he's definitely one of the most quippy Spider-Mans out there. And I mean, especially the last one, when you bring in the other two Spider-Men, you have a moment where we get to kind of see them in their head. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what they that's always been a part of Spider-Man, but it's hard to pull off on screen without breaking that fourth wall. And She-Hulk,
Yeah.
just like Deadpool, they're using that convention to break the. Now, what that means as far as canon about what we saw and what happened, I mean it. That's what sort of breaks my brain, and I'm not sure what this means going forward. But we definitely wake up in a different MCU. This Thursday morning after the She-Hulk finale, which boldly titled, "Isn't this my show?"
Yeah. 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 I mean, the fourth wall breaking, tying this into the MCU at large, is really kind of mind breaking, because you have to wonder. It's like everything else exists in this storytelling universe, where now she's leaving and she goes to Disney Studios and she can now. Granted, Kevin Feige isn't a an AI robot that
Or
builds
is he?
or
Or
is he?
or is he?
Um,
I mean, now we're
um,
we're talking about, that's what I wanted to dig into this, Thor. Like, all jokes aside, like, what does this mean going forward? Is this a splinter reality that we're seeing She-Hulk in, where in that reality there is a all supreme, Kang level being called Kevin, who is designing all these stories, like in one of the timelines, in one of the universes? Or did she just break completely out of the fourth wall and semi into ours in a way that has been done? There's precedent in the comic books for that.
yeah, I I I I want to lean heavy on the latter. I love the theoretical idea of what would happen if this is again just Kang creating mischief in the world. Um,
I
but
just have to go down that rabbit hole, that
yeah,
baloney hole. I have to go
yeah,
down it. Like,
yeah. But I gotta. I mean, who really knows? And until we get Deadpool, and see what sort of mischief in the fourth wall breaking Deadpool can do, I don't know if we'll ever know. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay if She-Hulk lives in this weird ambivalent world where she gets to go to Disney Studios and talk to the AI algorithm that creates Disney movies. But like, at the same time, is this show telling us that what not to expect for Marvel going forward? You
or
know,
or or are we just reading too much into it? And I think
is it
maybe
just
it's
fun?
just its own thing.
Yeah,
She-Hulk will exist in the MCU, but the precedent they've set is that, and I think that's smart, because this is getting so big, it has to be interconnected, but not.
yeah,
And we've
yeah,
we've talked about that with Star Wars a little bit too. Like, there's has to be interconnectedness. Okay, this is connected to this, but if you're super tight with the reality, you're hampering other storytelling.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so She-Hulk, I think what they're telling us in this, because the Kevin bot says, well, we fixed the error, you won't be able to do this again. So I think it's the one time, it's a special thing that She-Hulk can do. um I hope we get to see more She-Hulk in Daredevil and Echo. I think we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
um just setting up that relationship, there's, definitely, like she asks us, the audience, in camera, there's definitely something going on between Jen and Matt.
Yeah.
I
But
think
again,
they
I like the fact that Matt's like, no, I'm only here for the week. I'm not moving here. So he's obviously going back to Hell's Kitchen.
Yep.
It makes that separation where we don't have to see Jen Walters in
Yeah,
Daredevil, but it'd be fun.
but we could.
My favorite line when she's talking to Kevin, other than her calling out, when are we seeing the X-Men, which it's fun that she's asking all the questions that everybody else is asking.
Right.
The KEVIN says, okay, I'll see you on the big screen, and she says, oh really? And he goes, no. And it's like, oh, well, so you're telling us that we're not going to get She-Hulk in the theaters? We're not going to see her in a theatrical release. But I want more of it. I loved this show.
No,
Um,
we'll see her. I think we'll see her. I think that was a tease to her having her own movie, and I think that they might
right.
be building toward that. I think some of, very few. I think it actually will be in the minority of these shows that don't. Whereas, like, I don't think we're going to get another season of Falcon Winter Soldier. That was all set up for
Right.
New
We're going to get
World
Captain
Order.
America 4.
That
Right.
Yeah, that was set up for Captain America 4. I think Loki, however, works great as a series and would actually be hurt if you tried to make it into a movie. I think it's better as a freestanding series. But now She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, I think those are setups for either World War Hulk, the Thunderbolts. I think we're going to see She-Hulk again, and I'm going to miss her. I'm glad we got the extra episode, but it was still, I would have watched 3 more episodes if they could have, drug
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Absolutely. So
I mean,
so
just
before
what I just haven't been surprised like this. Like, I don't think anything in the
yeah.
MCU has surprised me as much as this show did,
Yeah.
in a good way.
Before we move on, just wanted to talk at least one last thing, because we get this scene now. Of course, Jen Walters is at brunch with her family, and we have that
Yes,
fun
we have
moment.
to talk about. Yes, we have
We
to
get the
talk
family
about.
moment because we
Yes.
have to talk about the Hulk's family.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you
So
and I believe
so
you and I
we've
talked
been
about this
talking.
we
Yeah.
talked about this in a previous episode.
Yeah.
I think we did. I hope we recorded it and it wasn't one of our just you and me conversations. But
Yeah.
I told you, I bet you he's off on Sakaar,
Yep.
dealing with a
With a
illegitimate
World
child
War Hulk.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and the Kevin bot talks about it, how like, no, we had to have the Hulk show up because it has to have the tie-in to, and she cut him off so we don't get the reveal.
Well,
But
but
now
we
we
did.
know. But now we know where he was. So are we gonna get a Hulk movie where we see him on Sakaar, or does the Hulk movie start
I think
moving
it's.
forward from this point?
I think that
Where
that's what they're skipping, is they just to set it up, so Hulk can be back and be involved in other things. I think that Scar has returned. He doesn't look happy to be there. He doesn't say anything. It looks super strained and
yeah,
awkward.
yeah,
Um,
and
so
obviously time works different on Sakaar. So
right,
yeah,
I don't know. We might see some elements of that in a World War Hulk movie, but I think that there's so much to do that they're just setting up that, like, oh yeah, he had an illegitimate kid. It'll be something kind of like that where we covered a lot of ground real quickly in
yeah,
Thor: Love and Thunder. I think it'll be a same sort of, like, Taika Waititi esque, VO, where, oh yeah, so I went back and I had a kid, while
yeah,
I was,
yeah,
running around as, like,
yeah,
Conan Hulk. And so yeah, no, I mean, the Hulk family is growing. We've got Abomination. We've got,
yeah.
again, do we have She-Hulk's blood is out there and we're gonna have Hulk knockoffs now?
Well, I mean, that's the question of the end of the show, is how much of the B plot to the show did she eradicate by saying I don't want to do that?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Is the Hulk blood out there? Did any of that matter? Are we gonna see
Did any
another
of it
Hulk in the
happen?
future?
Like,
Yeah,
did any of it happen? She just sort of cuts past the fight, but the way it ends is we assume that that fight happened. We just didn't need to see it because she was using that special effects time to talk to the Kevin bot.
right.
You
Because
know,
something had to happen because she ultimately had to defeat uh, the website people, um, and the police had to show up. But we don't know how that happens because Titania is still there,
right?
her friends are still there. So again, it's not anything that we're ever going to be told. But somehow that storyline wrapped up.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean it's just going to be these little carrots that are going to dangle that if we ever get another season, which I hope we do.
man. I mean, this like you say all the time. This is an exciting time to be a nerd. I'm here for it. Again, if you didn't like this, then then you just don't like comic book movies, and you don't like Deadpool either, because it was so epic. Like, with the last thing I have to talk about is the throwback to the old like 70s 80s
Oh my god,
Hulk TV show with her in the Bill Bixby
dude,
role,
the
like a
opening of
spot
that
on.
was
That was something exactly Deadpool would have done, and they did it. It was a spot on recreation of of
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
the opening credits for
yeah.
that show.
If I mean ultimately, if this show shows you anything, it tells you how excited to be for Deadpool 3
Yes. Well,
because
and how excited we should be for the MCU going forward, because if we get different styles, if we can have different styles under the same brand,
yeah,
that's really what we want. It doesn't have to be just one thing. And on that note, let's talk about Andor, which is um, talking about being able to be different types of storytelling under
yeah,
one umbrella. I'm so excited about this show. I mean, we're Star Wars is now going into Game of Thrones area. It's, I mean, House of Cards. One of the writers on it is actually a House of Cards writer. So we're getting political drama.
yeah.
We're getting, like, I mean, a real exciting show here. And this last episode where they finally pull off the heist on Eldani, really, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking
Yeah.
about it. Really took us into brave new territory for Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it did and it didn't. This one, honestly, to me, felt the most Star Wars out of the 4 or 5 episodes that we've gotten so far with Andor. The other ones have been Star Wars. This one felt Star Wars because we had the action, we had flying spaceships, we had a gunfight, but we also got what episode 1 and 2 gave us, which was we get to see the Senate again. But now, like, as I'm sitting there and I see people in the Senate, I'm like, well, what does the Senate really represent now if it's the Grand Galactic Empire and the Emperor is running things? But they
Well,
kind of
now this
show
is
us
the
that the Senate
Imperial.
is just kind of a show at this point. No one
Yeah,
really cares.
it's
Yeah,
the Imperial Senate. It's
yeah,
the Imperial Senate. Leia is. I'd love, there's an opportunity for us to see Leia. We might not see her, but I think we're going to see Baylor. But yeah, they set up in episode 4 that they're slowly shutting down, just like corporate security is
yeah,
one of the few holdovers that the Empire hasn't absorbed yet. Kind of like the Trade Federation. We're seeing how useless Mon Mothma feels at home and in the Senate. We see that her and Luthen have bet basically all their marbles on this thing. And see that's where you and I disagree. Is you saying that this is the most Star Wars that's felt? It's all felt Star Wars. It's just been taking its time. And what I'm saying about this new episode, breaking new ground, is yes, it finally, to the people that want your action and your pew pew, like you out there, you've got finally got that. But the weight on it and what the
yeah,
cost was is so much more intense than we've seen in any other Star Wars movie. Skeeve's betrayal, which was
yeah.
a surprise to me. His Andor again, just gunning somebody down, just
which
pretty.
which which I was kind of wondering about because in when we first meet Andor in Rogue One, he's a ruthless rebel murderer, which is what they really set
yeah,
him up to
and
be.
that's we're setting that up. We're
Yeah,
definitely setting that up. Like
yeah,
he will pull the trigger on you if you are inconvenient in the least.
yeah.
So it makes him a dangerous character to empathize with. We're seeing the stakes, and I want to talk about this. So hopefully this will get out before next week's episode. But I think that the woman, the leader of the cell, I think
Mm-hmm.
her girlfriend Cinta,
Mm-hmm.
um, is Cinta the leader, or is it her
No,
lover?
no, she's the gal that gets left on Aldani.
Right. I think I'm going to make a bold baloney prediction here. I think she killed that Imperial officer's family. I think she killed everybody in that room.
And then moved on.
I
Yeah,
think I think because there can be no witnesses, and that's going to be a character turn for the leader of the cell because they were lovers, and sort of like, and I hope that she lives on. But yeah, and not knowing who was going to live and who was going to die out of this last episode, the stakes were so high. It was a Rogue
yeah.
One level like drama in this one, and so I wonder. I really do wonder if I think that she's so, because remember her family were killed by stormtroopers. She might be so broken that everyone is because
Yeah.
they would be witness.
Anyone on the Imperial level is
Yeah,
just
they
fodder
would.
for
I mean,
her. Yeah.
technically, the wife and the son would be witnesses, and all the people. And so, I don't think that was part of the plan. I think that's what she did.
Yeah.
And when they reconnect, there's going to be a reckoning for those sort of dark actions. They're going to start blurring the lines because that we all have to lead up to. And what I'm most excited about this is we have to lead up to a point where we see Saw Gerreras and we see the elements of the rebellion that are not goody two shoes and wearing all white and
Yeah.
being the hope of the galaxy like Princess Leia sort of. We're talking about people who have blood on their hands.
Yeah, yeah, it's the people that really make the rebellion what the rebellion is. Luke Skywalker is a hero on a pedestal, and they talk
Yeah,
about that in the Mandalorian. Princess Leia is a hero on a pedestal. Han Solo is a hero on a pedestal. There's tons of other people out there on the ground level making the rebellion happen, like Cassian Andor. Um, so it is really interesting, and there's a lot of storylines that are still on a collision course in this show.
yeah,
The episode back, we see our Corsac guy, whose name Cyril,
yeah,
who's now hanging out with his mom, and she's leading him down this whole rabbit hole of like, is he going to get wrapped up in some sort of Coruscant crime,
yeah.
mob
That's where I
type
think we're
thing?
going there. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and this ISB person who's at odds with the other ISB agents.
Dedra, yeah, Dedra, I think her name
You
is.
know,
Yeah,
is she being set up to be our ultimate villain of the show, or are we going to see her switch sides?
right.
Anything
Well,
can
I mean,
happen in the show.
there.
It's
I think we're gonna hope that she switches sides. But here's what my thoughts is on where that plot line is going. Cassian has left a trail of people behind in places, and I think that these people. I think we're gonna see his contacts from Ferrix, or I think that whatever planet he was from. Um, I think that we're gonna like they're gonna follow the trail there now that this has been stolen. Now that the head of the ISB is taking Deidre's worries about connected rebel cells seriously. I think it's going to be her and that other ISB agent. He's going to put them together and send them out where they're going to be at odds, but basically like Scully and Moldering at just one step behind Andor because now he's after this episode he has cut loose. Like he's taken a freighter and his credits, and he's out among the galaxy again. So we've got to believe that he's gonna move away and maybe try to go back home, like he promised, and look in on his adopted mother. He could go
right.
looking for his sister. But either way, we know that the ISB are hot on his tail now.
Yeah, yeah, because you got to think somehow he's going to wrap back up with Luthien. Somehow we've got to get more story with his adoptive mother, because that's set up. He's obviously going to come into contact with Cyril again. So I mean, this show is really the intriguing part. Is I have no idea where it's going. I
Right.
have
I
no
love
idea
it.
what the story is. other than the fact that Andor has to become this character that ends up in Rogue One, I have no idea what's happening in the show.
Well,
Um,
it's the beginning
and
of the rebellion. This is, I mean, if Rogue One is the pre-call, the pre-roll, of Episode 4, Rebel spies have won their first major victory against the Galactic Empire. Then we're now seeing the stuff that leads up to that.
yeah,
The little rebellions that have started like this. We could say that this act, along with the stealing of coaxium on Kessel, are two of the major first elements of rebellion against the Empire,
yeah, yeah,
where
and it
they're getting resources, they're getting credits and
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
You know,
and it shows, and they talk about it in the show. They talk about these little isolated pockets of rebellion, um, and I think that's great because it's showing this that it's really a thing that started from a bunch of guerrilla warfare, and it's going to take Mon Mothma, it's going to take
right?
Bail Organa to pull everything together into this grand rebellion.
And fulcrum.
Um,
You need a fulcrum to
yeah,
pull everything into place.
yeah,
I I think more than anything, and she even says in a previous episode, Mon Mothma says, I have somebody I want to bring in, and he's like, somebody that's too dangerous. I mean, it's got to be Ahsoka. I'm
yeah,
just gonna beat that drum. That's my new Kang. It's Ahsoka.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. I really want to see her show up in this somewhere, even if it's in the last episode. Even if it's just for 10 minutes, I think we
mhm.
have to see Ahsoka in this show because she is a major part of the rebellion from what they
She
set
is.
up in Rebels.
Yeah, we got to see
Um,
Bail Organa. We have to see Ahsoka. And see, now I'm ready for those. I'm ready for you to drop those Easter eggs because now I'm invested. That those need to be peppered in. They don't have to be major, but like you said, like I'm so excited that I don't know what's going to happen. We know that the Empire, they've stirred up the bee's nest. We know that Andor's out there alone, and we know that there's spies everywhere on Coruscant. And then we've got this X factor of the ISB agent and our Corsec guy.
yeah,
And so
and
what sort of tendrils those are going to bring in, I'm excited about.
yeah. Well, and this strange subplot that's going on with Mon Mothma's husband.
Right.
Where is that going to lead us? Is he, obviously he doesn't end up turning her in because she's not arrested, but she ends up part of the rebellion and kind of on the run.
Yeah, I mean, we
So
don't know what happens to Mon Mothma's family between now and when we see her for the first time in Return of the Jedi. But we
yeah,
know that she's a sad. She's very sad. She's in control. She's running the Rebel Alliance by the attack on the second Death Star. But there's not just because all the Bothans died, but I think those Bothans mean a lot. Just
yeah,
sort of the grand everything that we've lost.
yeah. But I mean, realistically, there's only two people we've met so far in the show that are safe to come out the end of this show.
Right.
Um, the rest of the story is exciting, and we're halfway through it now, right? Halfway. We're episode 6, and I think we
Yeah,
have 12.
I think or five. Were we episode 5 or 6? Yeah, I think
We
no.
got
Yeah,
the
no,
first.
this was 6. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're halfway through. Man, anything could happen. I mean, if we have as much time to get out of this story as we did to get in, then anything is possible.
yeah, yeah. But again, I'm here for it. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And to clarify my statement earlier, it's not that I don't think that the first 4 episodes were Star Wars. They were definitely Star Wars. I just like this one felt the most Star Wars out of.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
we finally got into space. I mean, we'd kind of been
yeah,
into space for a second, with Luthen and Andor popping around, but this was like uh, Tie fighters getting,
yeah.
which by the way, what a beautiful and awesome
Oh my
sequence, and,
gosh.
and so fraught with tension and just
Yeah,
with them trying to navigate this
yeah.
asteroid shower,
Yeah, this,
over to cover their escape. Yeah.
yeah, this heist was quite an amazing episode because it took what Solo gave us and it amped it up 100% because you had this group of rebels and you didn't know what was going to happen to all of them,
Yeah.
and they built up interest in these characters, and like the younger guy who I can't remember his name, he makes a comment about it. He made some comment in the show, and I looked over at my wife and I'm like, "Oh, okay, he's dead." And she kind of laughed and she's like, "Well, of
Right.
course he is. He's the hopeful young person." And it
Right.
was heartbreaking when that happened. And then they teased us and they took him to a doctor and said, "Oh, it's a doctor in Star Wars. He can be fixed because it's Star Wars." No, he dies.
Yeah.
Um, so, but
Yeah,
just
no,
super
he
excited.
reminded me. He reminded me from the moment I saw him. You know why I knew he was dead is yes, the hopeful young guy. But then he almost is a dead ringer for Mouse from the original Matrix, the guy who designed the Red Lady and the Sims, the computer guy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
just the dopey young kid who's like always talking to the hero. Yeah, like yeah, red shirted immediately. But
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, just there was a lot I did not expect in this show, and Skeeve did such a great job with his his brother and the orchard in the previous episode, setting up that like okay, this is like the real deal, and now we know that there's holes in the security. Like this, how hard it is to get people that they trust that to pull off these heists that the
yeah.
rebels are trying to do now is they can't trust everybody yet.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. The rebellion is really hanging on by a thread, and it does so
literally.
up
Yeah.
until, Return of the Jedi. It's really this thing that could break. It's what's the quote from Gladiator? Something about it only being a whisper and then can be blown away at any moment.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, it's an
so
exciting show. I think it bodes well for the other projects. If they let them happen. Like I'm, sad news about. It sounds like Rogue Squadron is off the rails again. If I'm excited for Acolyte because these stories that exist outside of the legacy characters and don't hinge on Luke Skywalker or the Skywalkers or anything like that.
yeah,
Those are stories worth telling, and I think that
yeah.
there's a lot of fertile ground to farm for some stuff that's in the Star Wars universe, but not necessarily the Star Wars that we're used to. So
Yeah.
on that
Well,
note,
just one more comment. Because it's funny that you say that because we literally had a conversation last week about something that you wanted me to help you remind to bring up. Is that it's interesting that you say that because you literally had a conversation where you said I want to know where Dengar is. I want to know where Bosk is, and I hope they show up in the Mandalorian. So I want to see those legacy characters sprinkled in, but I also don't want it to
right,
hamper
it
the
has
rest
to
of
be
the
right.
story. Yeah,
Right, it has to be right. You can't just throw it in like a kitchen sink. It has to work.
yeah. But that pretty much wraps up where we are with She-Hulk. She-Hulk's done. It'll be a little bit shorter episodes going forward because we're just going to have Andor to talk about. We're going to get some Werewolf by Night. That came out. That was a brilliant little
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. A couple Halloween things coming up, but
couple
yeah,
couple Halloween things. I have my Halloween trip to Disney's coming up. We've had a little bit of shift in the Marvel movies going forward, so we have a little bit longer to wait for Deadpool 3 than we were teased with, and for Kang and some other things. But man, I'm still super excited with all the stuff that we have coming up. There's more stuff than possible to talk about. That's
yeah.
why we're pretty much only talking about these couple things. But if there's something we missed, drop it down in the comments. Let us know that you're enjoying this. Let us know what you want us to talk about, because there's plenty to talk about.
All right, we'll see you next time, man.
All right, man.